in practice. So we will still wait some minutes as people are entering in the room, but we are quite happy to have you here and hope that you will enjoy. Let's see what is the hour. We still have 1 minute. Maybe I can suggest, so I'm Louisa Mon. I live in Belgium. I'm volunteer for Wervel, and we organize this Cerrado meeting with all the team that you can see in the screen, some who has their video. So maybe each of the team will present themselves, just their name and what they do in Wervel, and then we will enter into the main content of the meeting. Luc, maybe can you introduce yourself quickly, please?
Yes, I'm Luc van Kreunkelsven, and yes, I worked in Brazil, and our focus is now Cerrado since 12 years. It's okay.
Excellent, thank you. And Luc wrote a lot of book that I'm sure you heard about, and I really recommend those. Maybe Natalia, can you quickly present, and then we will show your presentation a bit later.
Sure. So I'm Natalia. I'm a volunteer at Wervel since 2016. I'm Brazilian. I went to Belgium for my PhD, which I finished last year in December. Then I came back to Brazil. During my PhD, I also worked with Wervel on the importance of non-timber forest products, of Cerrado non-timber forest products in the sustainability of the social ecological systems present in the Cerrado. So that's it.
Excellent. Yeah, and you bring a lot of knowledge into the, Belgium about the Cerrado. I think you had a very important role on that. Maybe Hubert, could you?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Hubert Gullink. Since 8 years, I'm retired professor from the University of Leuven, but I'm active in the Cerrado working group. I was co-promoter of the thesis of Natalia, and so I'm still interested in joining and keeping in this discussion.
Excellent, and it's good to have people with different background, and the fact that you come from KU Leuven, I think it's really important also for knowledge sharing. Annelien, maybe?
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Annelien. I'm also a Wervel volunteer from Belgium, and I went to the Cerrado already 3 years ago now. And yeah, I really loved it. I did also some voluntary work on farms, etc. So yeah, I'm very curious to hear today what you guys will do.
And Annelien's always supporting all the activities of Wervel. I can see that there is still Arthur. I don't know if you want to present quickly yourself.
Maria José and Marie.
Yeah, so I think Arthur is offline, just managing the technicality. So Maria José, please, por favor. Você, you need to activate your sound, please. Well, let us know if you managed to open your sound.
Yes. I'm Maria José. I'm a volunteer, but I'm not really active at the moment. But maybe in the future, well. So I'm curious what about the presentation today, and I wish you very well. Successful.
Thanks. And that's great. We are also here to connect Belgium and Brazil, so it's incredible to have people from both countries. So I would say a few words before we start. First, you can all write your name on the chat, interact with us, also about your thought. Some people will answer you in the chat. There is some reaction that you can also have. This Cerrado evening was scheduled to be a 1-hour event. We had some issue with a speaker that had difficulties with the health of their family, but we still decided to keep the event because it's important to talk about the Cerrado, because it's important to share knowledge. It's important to share the solution. It's important to share about the challenge, and it's important to be engaged together. So we will start with Natalia. Then maybe we can have some question for Natalia after her presentation. Then I will present agroecology in practice, a small experiences of a farm, agroecological farm in Brazil. And then we will end with the manifest that we just launched today. So we will still have another proper launch, but we want to engage with you, and you are really the first one who will hear about that and that great work. So the event might be only 30-minute event, but let's see how it goes. And obviously we will have a Q&A session at the end to interact with you. So with this, thank you again, and Natalia, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I didn't know how to unmute myself. There was a technical issue. So thank you, Luis, for the very nice introduction. My role here today is to show a little bit of the Cejado. What is the Cejado? So this evening, this is the third time that we have a Cejado evening. And the main aim that we would like to reach with this event is to let you know about what is the Cejado, what are the main challenges found in the Cejado, and what are the solutions being adopted in the Cerrado that help to counteract the social ecological impacts that are found in the biome. So my PhD, I have told you, I finished my PhD in December last year in Belgium at KU Leuven. I was mainly looking at the role of fruits, seeds, honey, mushrooms, etc. Nuts, especially baru nuts, on the on paving more sustainable paths of development in the Cerrado. Today, I will focus mostly on telling you what the Cerrado is, and I'm very sorry if this is repetitive information for you, but I'm also aware that many people who joined this event, they join because they want to learn more about the Cerrado. So this is what my presentation will be about. And then we will zoom in, as Luis has said, on the agroecological practices being developed in the Cerrado. And I really hope that you enjoyed this evening. We are sorry that not all of the speakers could come, but we will try to make it as complete as possible. So first of all, if I can pass my, okay. Where is the Cerrado? So the Cerrado is a Brazilian biome. It's the second largest one. It spans over approximately 24% of the Brazilian territory, so it's quite big, even though it's scarcely known. So the Amazon biome, which neighbors the Cerrado, is very famous, right? And it overshadows the Cerrado. And this is our main aim. One of our main aims at Wervel is to make the Cerrado known. So this is what we will do now. So the Cerrado is classified as the Brazilian savanna, but it's very important to remember that portraying the Cerrado as a savanna enshrouds, it hides the complexities, the biodiversity, the beauty of the biome, the differences that are found in vegetation, the myriad of animal and plant species that are hosted in the biome. So I'm sure that when you hear the word savanna, you don't really think about these wooded spaces and waterfalls. And of course, the Cerrado in its diversity hosts various socially and culturally diverse groups, rich groups, but that are unknown even inside of Brazil. So I have chosen a very quick video for you to have a broader idea of what the Cerrado is. So we have a few images here. I'm not sure if the sound is too loud, then I can just mute my computer. This is just to show you, as the title of the video says, the beauties of the Cerrado. So I'll just play it. I hope it works.
I don't see more the image. It's stopped. Okay, now it's okay.
Have you been able to watch the video?
Yeah, it worked for me, Natalia. It's just the sound that didn't work, but I think
Okay.
can go ahead.
But it was just a little
beautiful.
bit of music, so I don't think it's that problematic that we're doing here. So okay, I would really like to be able to get back to the presentation. Okay, perfect. So as we have seen, there are many habitats, different natural vegetation formations in the Cerrado. So this scheme, this figure shows how many different types of vegetation formations we have in the Cerrado, highlighting that even though it is portrayed as a savanna, a tropical seasonal forest is found inside of the Cerrado. So we have seen several different types of plant species, animal species. It is clear that the Cerrado hosts very diverse plant and animal species. It is one of the world's biodiversity hotspots. It hosts many endemic species, that is, species who can only be found in the Cerrado, but these species are under threat. And we will get to that in a bit. It's very important also to highlight that even though the savanna vegetation that is prevalent in the Cerrado, that is found in the Cerrado, doesn't look like very important in terms of carbon sequestration, for instance, that it doesn't play the same role as a proper forest, so to speak. The savanna formations has a very deep root system. So the Cerrado is also known as an upside down forest. And beyond the carbon storage importance of this upside down forest, this structure, this vegetation structure, helps rainwater to infiltrate in the Cerrado soil, so it acts like a sponge. And for that, the Cerrado is responsible for sourcing 8 out of the 12 hydrographic regions of Brazil. So very important aquifers like Aquífero Guarani, which is very famous. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's worth having a look at the situation of Aquífero Guarani, Guarani aquifer. So this aquifer is sourced by the Cerrado. And then, of course, we see the great importance of the Cerrado in terms of water resources, not only in the region of the Cerrado, but across Brazil. Also, there's data from 2018, which states that the Cerrado, the water captured in the Cerrado is responsible for sourcing 50% of the hydroelectrical power of Brazil. But what has been going on in the Cerrado is that it's very important natural vegetation formation is being cut down, so deforested, removed, due to the expansion of agribusiness operations. So mainly in the Cerrado, the expansion of croplands, especially soy, corn, maize, and pasturelands, the expansion of pasturelands as well. So in this picture, we can see in red the natural vegetation loss, which occurred due to the expansion of these agribusiness operations from 85 to 2019. So this was facilitated by the Brazilian government. As of the late 60s, many governmental incentives have been put forward so to further develop and populate the Cerrado. So these incentives have attracted many farmers from the southernmost region of Brazil who were looking for land to expand their agribusiness operations. And yeah, there are many huge plots of land being used by farmers, by really large-scale farmers, agribusiness operators in the Cerrado, and this has been taking place as of the late 60s and early 70s. It's very important to call attention to the fact that in the 90s, the government incentives were decreased, but due to global market dynamics and due to the insertion of Brazilian commodities in for very competitive prices in the global market chain, deforestation across Brazil, but especially across the Cerrado, has increased. So during my PhD, I visited 3 different places. So I have made land cover change maps for these places, 3 different municipalities. And I just want to show you in further detail how the expansion of agribusiness operations is different across different municipalities. We will see that this varies a little bit in time, but we will see that the direction in the land use dynamics in the biome go towards the conversion of forests and savanna formations and natural grasslands formations towards the expansion of mainly pasturelands at first. So we can see in Piranópolis in 87, we already had a huge part of the municipality taken over by pasturelands, and the expansion of croplands in pink is starting to take place. Side by side with the continuous expansion of pasturelands in the municipality as well. I've also been to the federal district, especially the Planaltina region, so I zoomed into the Planaltina region, and we see that in 87 already many croplands had already been installed. So the federal district is where the capital of Brazil is. So Brasília, Planaltina is very close to Brasília. So the infrastructure for transportation of commodities is further developed and has been developed earlier in this municipality, what explains also why so many croplands had already been installed, planted across this municipality. And we see a trend of croplands taking over the areas of pasturelands. Nonetheless, pasturelands are also expanding, and there is also the direct conversion from natural vegetation formations to croplands. So the pink that we see here are the croplands. So as we say, as Luke likes to say, they're really deserts, deserts of soil. I'll show you some pictures later. And São Domingos is another municipality. It's much more isolated. It neighbors Bahia, which is further north and east in the state of Goiás. So there the infrastructure hadn't really reached the municipality in the early 80s. So deforestation started a little bit later in this municipality, but when it started, it went very fast, as we can see. Very fastly, natural vegetation formations were converted to pasturelands. So the pasturelands are there where the cows are, right? So these are really big cattle farms. And we also see the expansion of croplands, especially in the east of the municipality, where it neighbors Bahia. So there are many croplands in Bahia as well. Why does it happen? So, of course, as we see, 40% of soy production is used on the domestic Brazilian market, but 60% is exported. So this is these are figures only for soy, but this is true also for other commodities. And it is a global concern. It is global dynamics. The global demands for food and feed have been increasing. So this reflects on the Cerrado. We see China as a main destination of commodities produced in Brazil, especially in the Cerrado. We see the 2 biomes here. So Cerrado and Amazonia, we see that most of the production takes place in the Cerrado. And then we see countries in Europe also playing a big role in terms of importing commodities grown in the Brazilian Cerrado. So it's really these global incentives, this increased demand for meat, which is fed by soy grown in the Cerrado, by soy products. Like many of us are vegetarians and we don't eat meat, but we eat tofu, or many times we think that we eat something that is not related to deforestation at all. And this is not clear. It's not clear inside of Brazil. It's not clear in Europe. We don't really know what are the products we're buying, how the food chain connected to this food that we are buying is contributing to either sustainability or unsustainability. And Luis will talk more about this in a bit. But yeah, this graph is here to show you the huge amount of the trade flows that really stimulate deforestation in the Cerrado. How it looks like in the fields is this. So we see the cattle farms, we still see some trees standing in the cattle farms, but mainly we see deserts, the planting of invasive species. I don't know if you can see my mouse on screen, but yeah, here on the bottom left, we see an invasive African grass species, which has taken over the Cerrado. Here's a huge plantation, which are, many times are planted soy and corn, incurring in deforestation at many times, especially in terms of pasturelands, in fires, in forest/savanna fires, which have a huge impact on not only the fauna and flora, but also on human health. And yeah, per se, the removal of natural vegetation incurs in several difficult, problematic social ecological impacts. So we have talked about carbon storage, so that decreases. Also, deforestation and forest fires are associated with greenhouse gases emissions. With disturbances in the water balance, we have seen how the vegetation roots serves as sponges. So if those are removed, then we have issues in terms of water scarcity. Soil pollution, erosion, the use of pesticides in these huge plantations also affect human and non-human health, pollute water resources. Something that is very important to since this is a theme that is very recurrent, affect pollinators very much, which also jeopardizes the food production systems per se. Of course, the native populations, the local...
Natalia...
Luis? So
I was just concerned by the time to have people to ask questions.
Yeah, I'm just wrapping up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, in a minute. So,
okay, perfect. So we have time for questions.
Yeah, the local populations, which are basically invisible even inside of Brazil, who depend on the natural vegetation standing, are also impacted. See violent conflict, are involved in these conflicts due to land grabbing practices, are further excluded and further marginalized. Many of them become landless, face famine and extreme poverty. So we see the importance of developing alternatives, so developing more sustainable alternatives for food production in the Cerrado. And this is what Louise will talk about. So she'll zoom into agroecological practices that have been already taking place in the Cerrado and have shown positive results. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's super important to talk about the challenge. It's super important to talk about the solution. Maybe we can pick one question from the audience. I don't know if there is one on the discussion or if someone wants to unmute and maybe ask one question to Natalia. If you have some, I suggest you put on the chat and maybe then we can address it later. And if not, we will just continue then. Thanks, Natalia. It's super interesting, and it's hard to resume a PhD, long study, and all your observation. I think it provides a very good overview of the situation. And I had the opportunity to live there, and I have the opportunity to see that. And it's really powerful to see those deserts, because I really see a process of desertification. And that's something that is serious for human well-being and future, also for the generation. Hopefully, Brazil has still a lot of land and still has a lot of potential for restoration. So I will talk a bit about my experiences. Will be short and mainly with picture also. So this is the farm of my husband, family husband. And we lived in the house there, and it was before the transition to agroecology. So at that time, they just arrived there and they learned from the neighbor to plant with pesticide and all the technique that we all know. It was still a kind of medium size, because there is other, for example, our neighbor who has 2,000 hectares. So there it's much bigger monoculture, but you can still see that there were monocultural practices, and also a soil that is completely without organic matter. And that's a big problem, because there is some drought and problem of water, because the Cerrado is in high plateau. So it receives a lot of water, but only during a rainy season. After we can have 5 months without rain. And 10 years later, this is the same place. So basically what happened there, still some places with invasive species, obviously, but a process a little bit different, with a forest first near the river who is protected, agroecological practice in the middle, so in different states, with some also wood to build home, and other integrated with fruit trees and banana and others kind of intercropping practices. This is, for me, an example that restoration is possible, but it just needs a shift in the way we see our interaction with nature. And it's not an interaction that take and deplete it, but who want to restore and have a better soil, a better biodiversity. Quickly, this is a kind of refuges for biodiversity. As Natalia said, ecosystem act as a sponge. So it creates ecological niche for species that I didn't know, that kind of butterfly that was a huge one that just appeared a day in front of the houses, and tattoo, but also others kind of animal, wild animal. And it's great just to see that come back. The place is working a community supported agriculture scheme, if I can say that. So this is a direct partnership between the farmers, the family of the farmers and the workers, with a community who support financially the production. And they have a mutual commitment, one to finance and support what is needed, and the other to produce the food that the people want. So, for example, we call the people in the community the corporate producer, because they say what they want to eat, and then the farmer plants it. It's just a totally different setting than a normal market, because there is a kind of collaboration. For example, In community support agriculture, we say that it's a kind of social technology with auto management. And there is commission of communication to help the farmer. They share risk, but they share also opportunity. For example, we had a problem with the tomato plantation, and they just accepted that some wind destroy all the plantation. We have a commission of finance to check that all together, and also some activity of live together to build a bit the community. So this provide 50 baskets per week of organic, fresh, and seasonable food. So people adopt a new diet, also with new product that they are not used to, because they don't choose the product. They can inform what they want to eat, but they don't choose exactly it. And it provide 5 full-time jobs in a place that it's also only 4 hectares. So quickly, this is a kind of visit. So people met. Now with COVID is different, but still people go to the land to see what happened there. And it's great to see children with, like, you know, with a small, how you say, chicken, because they provide also some eggs. So with playing with the chicken and just being able to take a carrot from the earth. So it's also an educational place, and a solidarity place where if someone has some issue, the other are there. And we build that. It's quite hard, but it's possible. And a last thing for us that was really important is the integration with the other producer in the territory. Because if you're alone in the landscape doing agroecology, it's really hard, because the system is not working, because it's not the main way, people don't have knowledge and so on. But if the process is intrinsic and in an indigenous way come from the community, it can be something incredible, because people want to help each other. And they had the opportunity to do mutirão. So each week the association meet all together in one place and they work. And then after it was in another place and they work together. And then it built also cooperation. And we learn about seed and about technique and about which product we can use in organic culture and stuff like that. So this is Aprospera, the Association of Agroecological Producers. So some of them that Natalia and some of Wervel already know. And what was incredible is that we create 15 community supported agriculture through the association. So also the farmer can help each other if they were missing any ingredient, or if they need some help for a reason. So I can see that it's already 7:30, but we can still have, I think, more 10 minutes of event. With that, I would like to present the Cerrado Citizen Manifest, who is a collective work of the team of Wervel and the voluntary to better inform policymaker. So first, the manifest talk about the Cerrado and its importance, but also about the agreement with Mercosur, that is the European Union and Mercosur agreement. So Mercosur is those countries with Brazil and others in the south, and they are nearly agreeing on that trade agreement, who in a lot of ways threaten the biodiversity and don't really provide a solution at a global level for the challenge we face. So the manifest is called for a transparent trade agreement that respects people and ecosystem, because there were several critiques about the transparency of this agreement. So first, it's an urgent citizen request. So this is the maned wolf from the Cerrado. It showed that somewhere we are depleting how we don't reverse that and restore landscape and help smallholder farmer. We are in risk. and we are connected. In Belgium, we depend upon the Cerrado. That's clear for a soy. And the soy is not only the soy we eat. We don't eat directly soy, but it's in a lot of products that we consume, even if we don't know that. So the Cerrado manifest talk about the Cerrado, that is the little known world heritage. We always say that the Cerrado is a more, how we say, the Cerrado exists things more time than Amazon, but is a little bit the old biome that no one wants to look at. But at the same time, it connects all the biome in not all, but nearly all the biome in Brazil, and has really an ecological reason to connect biodiversity. Then the Cerrado explain a bit of why the soybean divide and what the problem is. Obviously, it's not about the soybean, but soybean has been really present in the Cerrado in huge monoculture. Soybean for export, soybean for livestock mainly, but also what we can see with the soybean is that it's a certain type of landowner who benefit from soil, because it's only huge farm. It's only you need a lot of investment in machinery, and you don't have so much employment. And it's really something who use a lot the soil in a monoculture way. So, for example, our neighbor that has 2,000 hectares of soil, but he changed sometimes with corn also. He provide only 20 employment, and we with 4 hectares we provide 5 full-time job. So it's really, you know, not really balanced. And what we say is that agriculture has externalities. So there is cost that the ecosystem of the Cerrado pay for. But this price don't reflect the real impact on society and nature. And that's a big problem, because it makes the things a bit invisible. So we need to better know our value chain and where our food come from. And because it's always possible to have some soil there. And then the food would be linked to deforestation somewhere. To finish, we talk a bit about the Europe addiction to soil. Natalia already presented some, I won't repeat. And we need, in fact, to be more resilient and more autonomous also in Europe, producing our own protein from vegetable. It just needs some conversion, transition, and then engagement. So this is the farm, and here we also in the manifest talk about the importance of regulation and label. So label about the product that are deforestation free, if possible, no GMO certification, because there is mainly GMO product in monoculture there. We know all that, and in Brazil, it's normal to have a transgenic information on the food that you buy. The European Union want to have a new law about to have due diligence, mandatory due diligence. So the Cerrado manifest also support that, and that should be the way it is. We want more a farm to fork strategy, linking where the food is produced to where the people eat, and reduce the kilometer between both, and also reduce the distance. With the distance is the kilometer, but also the social distance. So if I go and buy something from a producer here, I will know him maybe, and I will also support his business. And that's something really important, because somewhere as consumer, we are all micro investor and can help those producers to make that transition that we need. And finally, the manifest support agroecology and agroforestry as sustainable practice, real sustainable practice, and not greenwashing, that exactly combine agriculture and ecology in a way. Agroforestry is really the interaction with three, and we see that it's so important to have it to sequester carbon and also to improve the organic matter of the soil. Well, there is much more on the manifest. I let you have a look to it with social, with some link to the reference we use. Now we hope that you want to sign it because we want to make it political and influence some decision makers in the field. So the process, we had an open consultation, so it was provided several times by a multidisciplinary team from Wervel and others. Today it's a kind of first launch, but we'll have another proper launch in English and in Portuguese to involve also Brazilian in that process because it's their land, and we and somewhere Europe use their land through the import. So we will have the webinar on the 25th of March. I think maybe we will share the link with you after. Let's check the conversation. And Annelien, just share with all the manifest in English and Portuguese, and also where you can sign it. And finally, with all that, we want to present it to policymaker a little bit later in the year, maybe around April or May, but with a sufficient engagement. And the manifest is on the same line than other manifests that exist around there, as Together for Forest Campaign, CNCD Stop EU, Mercosur Coalition. With that, I pause. I suggest that we take for 5 minutes, maybe some question, if there is any. Please let us know. So it's interesting to interact. You can maybe raise your hand or just turn on your video and activate your sound. And we would be really happy to hear from you.
Did you explain that everybody knows that the two speakers of Brazil can't participate? Maybe you have to repeat it because some new people entered.
Yeah, I can just say that. So we decided to maintain that event. We had normally another speaker that had a problem with the health of her daughter, I think, and Renata Navega, who is the coordinator of the Community Supported Agriculture Network in Brasilia. That is a real successful story. But then if we have the opportunity, she will talk in another event. So the event might be a little bit shorter than expected. So, but this is good. We have more time to interact. So please send your question or jump in, and we can a bit build that further together.
I think there are some Brazilians participating. Is it just? It interests me in the group. Can they say it?
Okay, I can see that the audience is quite silent. We understand it's not easy, but well, if you're from Brazil, please unmute yourself. You also, if you are from Europe, please also unmute yourself and interact. You can comment if you have specific question. From my side, I would be really happy to hear from you. What are your experiences, for example, with agroecology in Belgium, or if you are already undertaking action to have a better alimentation, for example. And yeah, I will pause more and then jump in. That's the last opportunity.
Hello, good evening. This is Michael Becker speaking from Brasilia, from the IEB, from Instituto Internacional de Educação do Brasil, and right now coordinating also the CEPF, the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund for the Cerrado. And I'm happy to participating here today with you, and also to hear about the incentives and the projects that are running, because we also support various projects in the Cerrado, in the Brazilian Cerrado, also linked to agroecology, but also to species conservation and to also the commodities market, but mainly on coffee, and then going through restoration and several other projects that are running here in the Cerrado. Altogether, there are 59 of them from the very south of the Cerrado, at least, so from the state of Mato Grosso do Sul, till those who are more in the north. So we have also some projects in Maranhão still, and some also in Tocantins.
Excellent, thank you and welcome. That would be great to catch up maybe later, and we hope that we can also count with you as partner for the manifest launch on the webinar on the 25th, and that we can also interact more to know your work.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just receive a message to say, is there some linkage between agroforestry, agroecology enterprise and organization and nature conservation organization in the Cerrado? So that's really interesting question. There is a lot, I think, still need to be scaled up. For example, in Brazil, there is a lot of, they just also signed a new law about ecosystem services and payment for that. So there is already some incentive for producer in the upstream that somewhere manage water and provide water to cities, and those are rewarded with some payment. It's still not a lot. We had some in the Penaterra, but I think there is some good work going. WWF is doing a lot, and there is several projects at local level, as Michael Becker just mentioned, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Hubert, do you want to maybe add something?
No, that was my question. So
okay. Excellent. Yeah. Well, I think if there is no more question, we can slightly end the event. Do you agree, or someone want to say a last comment? Nope.
I just want to, it's just a very quick question. Is there anyone from the Sustainable Development Masters here? Just say myself or write on the chat. Okay, cool. Let's see one person. Okay, good. More curiosity than something else. So, Alexandra, I think we will have the webinar. So, and also probably another opportunity to have Renata. So, if you could, if you're willing to communicate with your friends from the Sustainable Development Masters, I think it would be a very good opportunity for them. They're usually very much involved in this event, so it would be nice to have more of them in the future presentation. So if you could tell them a little bit about what you saw today and what is about to come in the future, then it would be really great. Thank you.
Yeah, and we will invite Renata for the webinar, and I think also it's worth it saying that we are inviting key other institutions to present the trade agreement in more detail, And also, we hope to have a representative from the EU, as they are involved somewhere in that process too. Okay, so see you all on the 25 March. We still don't have the link, but it will come soon. So please stay connected through our page of Facebook, and also through email and other platform. And I can see that Céline Measure, I would love to hear more about that. Okay, excellent. So come have a look to the Wervel page, and we will also see if we can stay in touch by email with you maybe, so you can be in the email list to receive the information about. Thanks, and have a lovely evening, and let's continue to make the difference for the Cerrado and the other biome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you later.
Arthur? Nee. Arthur. Ja, ik zie dat Luther juist bijgekomen is, maar we zijn al geëindigd. Hallo? Uh, 25 maart is er terug een webinar. Volg ons op Facebook en de website.